and welcome to Youth in Politics. I'm Justin Chenette. Today's guest is District 2's Republican congressional candidate, John Frary. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
In a Bangor Daily News op-ed, you say, quote, "I have no plan to begin a new career as a politician at my age. If I upset the incumbent against all expectations, I decline absolutely to spend more than one term in Washington associating with a bunch of lowlifes in sweltering heat." Why are you running for office?
Well, this thing came to me rather surprisingly in October and November. The doctors are baffled. The most they can make of it is the symptoms are an intense loathing for the imbecility, fatuity, and general silliness of contemporary politics. What probably triggered it was hearing the phrase working families 30,000 times. That seems a little much even for a hackneyed phrase. You hear nobody ever has a word to say about loafing families, Jason. I Googled this just a few days ago, and there are 2,880,000 references to working families and only 4 to loafing families, and 2 of them attributable to me. I Googled it just yesterday, and it was up to 2,890,000. I think this is getting kind of tiresome. So beyond that, my aim is to introduce a certain cold reality into the process, dispose of the megalomaniac projects favored by most candidates, and address the nature of politics first and foremost, and then the issues as they appear from time to time.
Okay. As you may have ascertained by now, I have little desire to follow the tried and true, boring and solemn path to electoral disaster. I intend to say some very serious things, but I don't see any reason to be funeral about it all. I must assume that the GOP prefers a candidate who is solemn but not serious over a candidate who is serious but not solemn. A candidate who is serious as opposed to a serious candidate, as you well know, has no prospect of victory in American politics, so there is little danger of my being exiled to the District of Columbia. Still, the prospect of making new enemies is damned inviting. That's a quote from your candidacy.
That's correct.
From that statement, it seems not only do you realize that you're facing an uphill battle in this election, but it seems almost like you're making light of the situation or joking about it. Do you really believe that you can win against a 3-term Democratic incumbent?
Incumbents, Democrat or Republican, generally hold on 97% of the time. This makes it difficult. And that, of course, is why I'm the sole candidate in the field. Just in principle, given that 11 or 12 or 13% of the voters approve of Congress, as a matter of principle, there's an opportunity to bounce one out. If I could run against 200-300 of them, I'd be glad to do it. But law and my limited resources limits me to just Mike Mishu in the 2nd District.
Okay. According to your website, some of your friends have accused you of having libertarian tendencies, and you describe your policy as, quote, "do as you please and kindly stay out of my yard." In layman's terms, describe your core beliefs and an overview of your political views.
My core belief, most easily understood in terms of Constitution. And it's an odd thing. By Article 6, all elected officials, state and local and national, must swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. And no occasion have I ever heard any candidate ask what their views were. Now, when they take an oath to uphold the Constitution, they're not taking an oath to uphold a judge's interpretation. They're supposed to have their own understanding. It's not a long document. My understanding, first and foremost, is Article 1, Section 8 lays down essentially all the powers of the national government. The fact that it does, in 26 clauses, nearly as I can remember, itself sets a limitation. It doesn't simply say tax and spend for the general welfare and stop there. By listing other powers, it's intended to restrict the exercise of federal power. You go to Section 9, and immediately lists restrictions such as you may not suspend habeas corpus except in time of national emergency. And the population, the anti-federalists in particular, weren't satisfied with that. They demanded a Bill of Rights, which are embodied in the first 10 amendments. All of these add up to one thing: restriction on the powers of the national government. Now, if the public wishes to have those provisions eliminated, if it wishes, above all, to eliminate the process of balance of powers and checks and balances, which in no way increase the efficiency of legislation or administration. They are intended, very plainly, to limit the exercise of that power. So that's my basic ideology.
Okay. What experiences in your background has prepared you for a life as a congressman?
Well, I did have a brief period in the educational bureaucracy, and taking together my teaching career, about 32 years in community college. It'd be one area where I'd bring a specialized knowledge to Congress. For the rest, it'd be enough to find some suitable leader. Now, of course, it's customary for congressional candidates to boast of their plans to provide leadership, which is more or less a joke amongst 435 prima donnas. You have to find someone who already has established leadership, who has been pursuing policies over the previous years, which you agree with, and given their experience, to follow that leadership until they disagree with it. And the rest, I think, is nonsense.
Okay. Let's talk about your opponent, Congressman Mike Michoud. Here's what you had to say about him. If you had your eyes open and are not blinded by the money that surely will be spread around by the Michoud machine, you will see that Mike's positions are based on which group he happens to be talking to at the time. Mike looks good in a suit, smiles nicely when the cameras are on, and can bore you to death without saying a single thing of importance. Trying to pin Mike down on an issue or concept is like trying to grab a fish with your bare hands. And if you manage to catch one, you can never be sure what it is you caught. It appears that you have some strong feelings towards your opponent, Congressman Mike Michoud.
Well, that conveys an exaggerated point of view. Actually, Mike Michoud smiles nicely off camera, too. And everybody agrees he's a nice guy. Nothing against him personally, actually, despite the tone of those remarks. In fact, I take a benevolent view of Mike Michoud, and I think I'd do him a service if I got him out of politics after 30 years. At some point, he's going to be in danger of boring himself to death, repeating the same hackneyed phrases over and over again. I can't see I'd do him any harm. He's got his union pension, he's got his state of Maine pension, and this year he qualifies for his congressional pension. Time for him to look at new fields to conquer.
With specifics, finish this sentence. People shouldn't vote for Mike Michoud because?
Because he's an interchangeable part of a Congress which has historically low approval ratings, period.
Okay. Are you running for Congress to represent the people of Maine or present a certain ideology of issues?
Well, I'm presenting my ideology, my issues, I think in plain, well, maybe not plain, blunt language anyway. If the voters choose me, then clearly I'd be representing them.
Okay. In the U.S. House of Representatives, Michoud serves on the Veterans Affairs Committee, the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, the House Committee on Small Businesses, as well as many other subcommittees. If you win the election, hypothetically, do you believe losing Congressman Michoud's seniority in Washington will end up hurting Mainers?
I don't see where seniority has done a great deal of good. I don't know that he's ever passed a piece of legislation. I think he has written 56. Most have died in committee. None of them actually passed Congress. Of course, he does constituency services. So does everyone. If his staff is competent, I'd be perfectly comfortable hiring them to do the same services. Now, of course, constituency service is divided into two broad categories. Reassurances that you care, which are totally useless, but make people feel good. And where you've mastered some of the intricacies of bureaucracy, the layman is totally baffled, infuriated by. You've got people who experience with them. You put them to work on solve problems, cases of that sort. For example, my priest has gone to China to collect his wife, whom he married last October. Now, here it is in June, and she's still there. Respectable 41-year-old woman, married to a priest, and they have to fill about 5 pounds of documents. Meanwhile, there are 12 million illegal immigrants in this country by some estimates who've never signed a single document. This is the government at work. You need constituency service to budge things along. You can't speed it up enormously, but you might be able to put it closer to the top of the pile.
With that, we're going to take a short break, but when Youth in Politics returns, we're going to continue to delve into the candidacy of John Frary. Don't go away.